What's going on, guys? In today's video we're going to do a battery relocation to the inside of the cab on the old Hardbody. Let me show you what I'm working with. Alright guys, this is what I'm working with. I made a battery tray, some old amp wires, the BMW battery wire, some lugs, a cover, and a battery lug stud. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mount the battery box and then we'll go from there. Now let's get to it. Alright, now that we got the battery mounted, let's run some wire. Alright guys, so I did this on the bench with the negative. This is giving me the negative cable. Don't worry, I'm not just going to ground it to the cab. I'm going to make some bigger jumpers under the hood for the engine to make sure it gets the right ground. But anyways, I heat shrink the connector that I'm going to ground to the cab. And I already added the battery terminal onto it. Alright guys, if you guys were wondering where I'm going to go into the cab with the positive wire, there's actually a hole right here. If you take this side panel off, lift up the carpet, under the two bolts that hold this plastic piece, there's actually a hole in the cab already that has a grommet. I'm just going to put an X in it and run the wire all the way along the trim piece in the corner of the cab to the battery. But before we start messing with the alternator wire and the starter wire, we gotta mount the lug to the frame. We're only gonna mount it by one bolt because I don't have a tap and die set to tap the other one. I'll tap it later to make sure it doesn't fall off, but we're gonna take this bolt out right here and replace it with an Allen so it sits flush. Alright guys, now that we got the battery lug mounted, I'm going to run the battery cable and cut it to length. I just hand tightened it up to get the length. When I go to put it back in, I'll make sure it's nice and snug. Now that I've got it snaked through the hole, I'm going to run it under the kick panel, up into this corner, into the battery. In case you guys were wondering why I was wanting to relocate the battery tray is rusted through really bad. And the fact that I want to shape the bay, and that's a major eyesore. Don't worry guys, if you guys are worried about the terminals on the battery being exposed, I'm going to end up building a center console for it that should cover those, so it'll be safe. Alright guys, now it's time to dig into this rat's nest of wiring to get that wire off the back of the alternator and that wire off the back of the starter down to that battery lug. Alright guys, some things I learned while taking that apart. Mind you, I've never dug into a wiring harness on a hardbody ever. Is the big wire only goes to the starter. The alternator is a completely different wire, so I gotta lengthen about 6 smaller wires and run it to the lug also. Alright guys, so these 5 wires come off of the alternator and I have to splice them and put them into one big wire so I can run them to that battery lug. It's way more tucked away and simplified. guys. As you guys can see, I ran it onto this wire. I cut all these and I ran it to this red wire. And now I just gotta put the lugs on. Alright guys, it's all done now. Everything's tucked down there. Up under here. Oh, you guys can barely see it. Alright. It's all tucked away under here. You can see it kind of back there because the seat brackets pull it. Now that everything's done, let's see if I did everything right, see if she starts. Let's hook the positive battery terminal up. Oh man, we got a dome light. Alright, let's see if she starts. Oh, that's good, we got power. Hey! Alright, now that it's all finished up, if you guys like the video or have any questions, comment below, subscribe, and go check out our stickers.